You are one of 3 types of people. WILDS is awesome, do not talk bad. WILDS sucks ass, watch your tongue. Or who are you and why are you in my living room? While I make little secret of which type I am, which naturally attracts more like-minded people, I don't want to come off as an intensely negative individual. So here's the top 9 things WILDS does really well in my opinion, without buts, totally on my own accord and without outside influence. Number 1. Gathering design. Monster Hunter World has introduced a way to effortlessly move to any location you can mark on a map. That move, enabled by trail riders, was essentially a mini cutscene, as you couldn't really do anything while waiting to be taxied to wherever you were going. Rise iterated on that with palamudes, which were not only really strong in combat depending on weapon choice, but also were completely controllable and, importantly, let you push buttons so that even long, otherwise boring corridors gave the players something to do. WILDS iterated on this a little, removing the drift and the resulting speed up, but gave us a little hook for gathering. This, I think, bridges the gap between autoscroller and the nuisance of gathering very neatly and cleanly, especially in hot or cold areas, with the introduction of gatherable consumable bugs that mimic the respective drinks. Number 2. Crossplay. I could sit here and say something amongst the lines of about time. Forkknife and FF14 did this for free since forever. But I'd like to highlight something here that I think deserves a little respect. Capcom is a publicly traded company, and that means that they're essentially forced to monetize the living shit out of anything and everything they possibly can. Imagine for a moment that you really liked any of the 5th generation Monster Hunters, and your on the fence about trying it friend finally caved and bought the game. Except you played on release on either Switch or PS4 and they've bought the Steam version. You can now either A. accept that you spent all those hours, days and weeks nerding on and on about how good these games are in vain, because the moment your friend realizes you can't play together, he'll give up on it again. Or B. cough up the 30 to 70 bucks to switch to their platform. And because it is Monster Hunter, you just might. That's a sale that WILDS will never make. And I think it's at least somewhat deserving of a mention that an openly traded company forgoes this obvious avenue for more profit in an effort to objectively enhance player experience, not to mention the running cost of servers that none of us is paying for. Number 3. NPCs. Large open areas for the sake of large open areas is a concept I despise. In some maps, however, I hate it significantly less than in others. NPCs moving around on their own accord, herding smaller creatures, trading stuff with you that makes sense for the region they're in, being able to observe them entering their huts when night approaches. Things like this make the areas feel lived in. And while I'm not exactly the type for story or world building like that, I can appreciate the attempt. Number 4. Diva buff. The Diva is a character that originated from Frontier. Personally speaking, I like that reference. But she also makes the gathering hub feel a bit more lively. Every time she's about to perform, NPCs start gathering and watching her, giving it this ritual or tradition-y feel that I can appreciate. And how could it not be? Random person pops up, starts singing and disappears with the sunrise. Who wouldn't take a moment to watch that? The buffs her performance grants are not exactly game-breaking, making the whole edition neither offensive nor numerically meaningful. Number 5. Reduced grind and easily achievable baseline sets despite RNG decos. One of the things I hated about World were RNG decos. There's 2 camps when it comes to RNG in Monster Hunter. Camp Charm, which I am a firm part of, prefers RNG charms. While there exist many reasons to do so, minus that charms don't tend to get in the way of achieving a baseline. Camp Deco, on the other hand, prefers RNG decorations, which I'm sure has a ton of reasons too, but the one that convinces me the most is that maxing out a set is more reasonably achievable with RNG decos. Camp Decorations is okay with baseline being harder to achieve as a trade-off. while Camp Charm is in favor of theoretical sets, which are theoretically possible but statistically unlikely. WILDS managed to settle in between the two, with theoretical sets that really aren't a game-breaking upgrade over craftable alternatives, unlike say Berserk, Swax and Sunbreak, but also has nigh guaranteed baselines by making every important non-3 slot deco target meldable by Hunter rank 100. In addition to that, long grinds for that one rare drop are also mostly issues of the past now, as you can simply rest until an investigation with a guaranteed rare pops up. In terms of baseline, WILDS is the least grindy MH yet, despite the many avenues of minuscule upgrades available. This extends to the weapons too. Keep in mind that my perspective is Swax, as So and laggy weapons are both very competent to the point that they even beat Arshan sometimes, and are never so outclassed that you'd actively gimp yourself by not interacting with RNG much at all. Good job, WILDS. Number 6. Updates so far reduce friction consistently. This thing? Those here? They weren't like that on release, alongside a couple other things. While updates in both Iceborne and Sunbreak primarily added content, in WILDS they consistently decrease friction. But what exactly do I mean by friction anyway? Well, think about mega potions. To make them, you'll need to combine potions and honey. Both of these are a theoretically infinite resource, but farming honey is time and or a farming slot not spent on something else. Especially in early progression, this leads to being much more frugal with mega potions. It might even lead to being so frugal with them that out of fear of running out and having to farm more of them, you don't use any at all and become a better player through it. That I consider friction. Did you ever see a piece of equipment or a weapon you really wanted to try, but then realize that you'll need a 1% drop for that, and so you start spamming rest and hope you have enough points to continue to do so until an investigation with a guaranteed drop popped up? That I also consider friction. Of these two scenarios, I generally prefer the first one, and I know better than to claim that to be an objective truth. But if you disagree, then please look deeply inside yourself and tell me if this is the gameplay you prefer. My analytics say it isn't. Friction, as I described it, is needed in games to keep them interesting, as effortlessly going from point A to point B is great for a commute to work, but feels unrewarding if the whole point is getting to point B. Friction points of the second type in WILDS are things like persistent timers on mantles and food, having to find a tent to restock between quests, the quest brought wandering off, the removal of abandoned quests, and so on. So far, WILDS has consistently ironed out some of those, with more such features on the way. I also don't care if friction really is the right word for all of this or not, but if I see one of you actually-ing me while also talking about builds, I will buy my own. Number 7. Best training dummy ever so far. Attack patterns were a thing since Rise. The hit zone setting is cool, but the real king here is all the options and conditions you can activate through a simple menu. Activating conditional skills on demand, giving us an easy way to proc heroics, disabled health recovery. The only way I can think of to make this any better would be straight up telling us the damage split between raw and element and showing us exactly how much status is applied when. This dummy has made testing things so much easier, and I really don't understand how this and this can coexist in the same game, but I like this new dummy a lot. Number 8. Retry button in arena quests. Easily the most niche thing in this list is the retry quest button for arena quests. Just a one button solution to restart an arena quest with the same conditions as the originally accepted one. It's beautiful, I love it, and I wish more quests had it. Number 9. Binoculars. Previously a PC exclusive quality of life, external edition smile. They now tell you the size of any monster you aim them at, making crown hunting a lot easier and quicker than ye old measurement methods. Small change, but not terrible. No, I'm not scraping the bottom of the barrel. You are. Whether or not you enjoy any particular monster hunter typically comes down to pros and cons. Some cons are deal breakers for some, but not for others. I still don't like WILDS, but I'm not blind to the things it does genuinely well. Oh, what's in this box?